Polymorphism is a fundamental concept in object-oriented programming where we can call a function having a same name and call that function and execute that function in a different way according to our class implementation. So for example, we have a player class and which has a attack function, so we can use this function and we can change this function using function overloading and function overriding to achieve the polymorphism concept into this. And yeah, so first of all, we can use inheritance in this case when we use a player as a base class, and after this we can create a child class like uh, weak player or strong player, where we can override this function into weak player and strong player, so that it behaves according to that class. So when we use the object of these class, weak player and strong player, so it will behave according to their implementation. And another is the function overloading. So we can achieve using the signature, we can put different signature of same name same name function, so that we can use according to their signature, and we can achieve polymorphism feature. So next is our two type of polymorphism: compile time polymorphism and runtime polymorphism. Compile time polymorphism is a polymorphism in which we resolve our function calling according to the signature, which resolve in compile time, and it is basically our early binding process, in which we figure out which function going to call in our code using the signature. Let's say we have a action function, so we are passing none parameter there, so according to that we can call action into there. If we pass one parameter, or we can overload there using two parameter or one single parameter, let's say integer parameter is there, so we can use that calling, and we can overload that function according to that. In runtime polymorphism, we can use a virtual method in our base class, and after that we can override that base class and use the type of that instance to call that function. So let's say we have a player class and we derived weak class here, so we use the instance of the weak class into that player class to achieve the runtime polymorphism. So is static and dynamic binding. So static binding is binding in which we are compile time we use the compile time binding, uh, so that our signature and calling function bind according to their signature in compile time. So dynamic binding is a binding in which we bind our calling function in runtime using the type of that class which are going to call that function in runtime. Yeah.